Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. It was a surprise to many of us. Now, the announcement came at the Xbox showcase around about a month ago, and details at the time were very light. Well, at a recent Flight Sim Expo, Jorg Newman gave a load more details about the new sim and also touched on the subject of what's happening and the reason why they're moving away from 2020. Listen to this clip. So as you can see right there, the reason is because they've pretty much reached the limit of what they can do with Flight Sim 2020. Bit disappointing, a bit, well, surprising, I guess, kind of. But yeah, if this is what they need to do, I guess that is the way forward. Much better than to be one of those games that just peters away and dies because the engine isn't capable of doing the things that people want. And we've seen far too many of those sort of live service titles. Now, at this Flight Sim Expo, they did go into some details onto what we can expect to see in Flight Sim 2024. This expo at this point is close to 2 weeks old. It may even be 2 weeks old, so I'm a little bit behind the times on this. My apologies for that. Things have been very hectic. I've been covering a lot of other things, but let's get to this right now. So what are they telling us? Well, what they wanted to talk about was broken down into 3 different core sections that they called focuses. Now, in terms of focus 1, this was called Aviation Activity System. Why are they doing this? Well, the reason for that is pretty obvious. Some of it a little bit unexpected, actually, but the main reason is pretty obvious. Turns out that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 so far has had 12 million different users. That's a lot of people playing the game, at the largest point in the franchise's history. It's always been big, but never quite this big. Now, Microsoft have looked at those numbers and they think that there's around about 3 million users that they consider the core users or the core simmers. And these are people who play the sim regularly, regular flight simmers and very heavy gamers. And they found out that, and surprisingly, one of the most common things that these people want is to see more activities within the sim. Moving on to moving on to focus 2, this is core sim and technology. So this went into another reason, perhaps the biggest reason for the move from 2020 to 2024. Basically, technological reasons. One of the things they want to improve is the client size. For those of us who've been playing the sim for quite a while, you'll soon find that this sim is 150 gigabytes, 200, 250 gigabytes in size, depending on what you've installed and how many upgrades or updates you've actually downloaded. Now, they want the new client to be much smaller, and to achieve this, they're going to put more of the client in the cloud. Now, with the current edition of Flight Sim, you know that terrain and photogrammetry, all that lovely stuff is stored in the cloud. It's why we can get such a lovely looking sim. They're going to take this a step further and put some of the program itself, some of the application, the game itself, in the cloud as well. And this means that the installation is going to be much smaller, which means that download times are going to be much smaller. Also in Focus 2, there's going to be a brand new physics and aerodynamics engine. There's a new physics and aerodynamics engine. The new engine is going to give creators and well as Microsoft themselves more control surfaces on the plane. So we're moving from fairly limited control surfaces up to absolutely tons of them on the planes. Additionally, the physics is now going to be covering rigid as well as soft body physics, as well as tissue and ropes physics as well. The later of these two are going to be used in hot air balloons. Take a look at this clip right here. We can see how this balloon inflates with hot air, as well as how it collapses. Now, you don't see this type of physics, or anywhere really, in any sim or any game. This is sort of the type of thing you only see simulated in some really hardcore simulations. But this is going to be in Flight Sim 2024, and one thing of note here is that when this balloon collapses down, you'll notice that the surface doesn't clip through itself. There is surface detection here, so as the balloon collapses, when it comes in contact with other parts of its material surface, it will react correctly and accordingly. And yeah, this looks pretty impressive. Another nice thing that was great to hear is that the new sim engine, that Flight Sim 2024, is going to be multi-core. So hopefully that means that all of the physics and everything else is going to be multi-threaded and won't be relying on just a single thread or just a few threads. This has been a massive hold-up for the current edition of the sim. And then we move on to the digital twin of Flight Simulator. This is what they call the recreation of Earth. So you can see right here, this is how things... Look any bigger than that? I think that's large enough. You can see right here, this is how the tins look right now in the south of France. We've got the mountainous area here, and on the mountain we've got some greenery. Some of this will be trees and some of it will be rocks, the slightly darker colours. But unfortunately, the sim isn't capable enough of figuring out what is what. This is where Flight Sim 2024 comes in, and we can see there is some machine learning going on, and this can detect the differences via satellite imagery of what is rocky and what is the regular terrain and what should be vegetation. And this can then be applied to the sim, and we can see right here. So we got all these trees and we got all these rocks added over the original terrain. That is then improved somewhat with some extra textures and extra detail in, and what we get is this. Essentially then we're going from Flight Simulator Flight Simulator 2020 right there to Flight Simulator 2024 right there. So a massive improvement. And there's also some other improved graphics going on. If we jump forward to here, we can see the aforementioned new improved ground details. We're also going to get 3D tessellated ground materials. That means distortion on snow. Then we got the vegetation enhanced tree diversity. So hopefully that means that trees should appear in the correct regions now, and not the standardized generic trees appearing everywhere. York also went on to say that those big, huge, vast, oversized trees are also going to be a thing of the past. And then we see these improved cliffs. Right now we've got rounded cliffs and slopey type cliffs. This looks much better. One thing that does seem to be quite noticeable there that they didn't mention, but is these waterfalls. Wouldn't it be nice to see actually working waterfalls? I think that would be a fantastic touch. That does seem to be what they're suggesting there. They're not actually said that or showed that. That does seem to be the hint. Moving on, we come to seasons, full of seasons. Now this is something that Microsoft did promise for Flight Sim 2020, and because they made that promise, they've said they're trying to look at a way of including these seasons into the existing edition of Flight Sim. So it will definitely be available in the 2024 edition, and they will try and get it into the 2020 edition as well. Beyond that though, the 2024 edition is going to have Aurora Borealis, and it's going to look stunning. Some rather extreme looking weather in the form of tornadoes and supercells, as well as these really, hopefully, some impressive looking storms as well. And then beyond that, we've got the living planet, the living world. Now, right now in 2020, there are some animals, you can find them, but they're fairly sparse. There are not too many of them all clustered together. But what Microsoft want to do is make these into much larger herds, and we start seeing migration going on. Hopefully there'll be a lot more animal variety. This sort of activity would also extend to live ship traffic, something that's missing right now from the sim, as well as live air traffic. Live air traffic in 2020 is in a bit of a mess. Seems that Microsoft have probably admitted now, maybe, that the reason for all of these problems in Flight Sim 2020 is because the game is just not up to it. I know that when you look around the forums, some people said what we've done is a paid beta test when it comes to Flight Simulator 2020. That is one way of looking at it. Certainly unfortunate if people have to pay out again for the new edition. I can't see Microsoft making the new edition free. And, you know, after all, if they were going to make 2024 free, why would they also be updating 2020? So, yeah, it looks like we're going to have to pay for that again, unfortunately. Also going to get improved traffic as well, and hopefully that means that the crazy traffic activity you see on the surface is also going to go. What that means for trains and other such ground vehicles, who knows, but hopefully those will be included as well. And there we have it. That's pretty much all the news for Flight Sim 2024. Quite a bit to unpack there. Like I say, I think it's surprising but quite exciting to see what is coming up. At any rate, let me know your thoughts and feelings about all of this in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys and girls next time.